Mr. Ting, we have 9 matches to go through at All In Texas. We're including the trios title match, which I guess is not officially announced.
Not officially announced, and at this point I don't really know why. They could give us a surprise.
The challenge was issued. I could have sworn the challenge was accepted.
It was.
So I don't know why we have a hang up on this, but yes. So we'll assume that is going forward, but we have 8 plus 1 altogether. So starting things off, let's talk about the main event, the Hurt Syndicate defending the AEW tag titles against Jet Speed and the Patriarchy. And does your thought of a title change increase after tonight's angle?
Okay.
And also the ability that you could get the belts off the Hurt Syndicate without them having to be defeated.
Certainly, yeah. You know, why else would you, I guess, make this a 3-way unless they just felt like the star power wasn't enough for this match, which, I mean, I have a lot of questions that, you know, are going into like the crafting of this entire build, but can we see the Hurt Syndicate lose the tag team championships? Something tells me no. Like, I just can't necessarily see Tony booking this group as strong as they've been, only to have them lose even via like 3-way, you know, not getting pinned here. I think they'll be losing it to maybe a more meaningful team, and I think the big matches are still with the Hurt Syndicate as champions rather than any of the other teams here.
I probably would have leaned that way until tonight's angle, and just giving it thought, I think that Christian and Nick Wayne come out of this as your tag champions. It sets up FTR as challengers. And I think in a roundabout way, given that we have All Out that doesn't take place till September, I think we could this is a way to get the belts to FTR, and you could do Edge and Christian coming together to go after FTR months from now. So that's where I'm leaning toward.
I feel like you could have that match without the championship attached to it.
I also look at it from this fact. If the Hurt Syndicate are not losing to any of these teams, who else is there? Like, what is this tag division? I don't see Swerve and Ospreay going for these belts. I really don't.
Yeah.
They just don't have a tag division to, I think, isolate Swerve and Ospreay in such a way. That would be one team that you could see winning this, but I don't know. That's not the way that Tony has really booked these tag belts.
Well, at the very least, I think, are we in agreement that Cope will show up, make a return?
I'd be stunned if Cope is not there. Like, I really like my my Avengers idea at the end of the night and Cope being involved there, but he does make more sense for here, which I imagine we get FTR somehow in this, and Cope coming out is a natural.
Yeah, I don't see much reason for FTR to be included in this entire scene unless you were to build to something involving Cope. And it's September that they're doing All Out, but it's actually not that far away. I mean, they you know,
you're right.
It's sow the seeds.
2 months or so.
Yeah, so I could expect the Cope return on the biggest show of the year, along with FTR getting involved in this match.
Adam Cole and Kyle Fletcher for the TNT title. I think it's totally under the radar of all the matches that are announced. Like, I like the fact that they did not opt to just make this a 3-way to include Daniel Garcia and just get everyone on this card. Instead, it was Fletcher's the contender. Let's have him go over clean on Garcia and just make a strong challenger. And I think this would be a great chance to get a belt onto Kyle Fletcher, and for Adam Cole to have like a big performance that I think he's been fine, but he hasn't stood out to me in a big way over this past year. And this is probably not going to be near the top of everyone's list of what they're looking forward to, but I am intrigued by this match. And I think Kyle Fletcher, I think that he's had a fantastic year, and it could be having this belt. I think it gives some oomph to this TNT Championship.
I think he's been Adam Cold this year.
Man, that is ice cold.
I was thinking, should I do it? And I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna go for it.
Save that on the cafe. You get some anger on the free feed.
Yeah, honestly, at this point, like, I think I would even argue whether or not Cole is worthy of a singles match on a show like All In with like a talent depth as as like being what it is right now in AEW. But my interest in this purely lies in seeing Kyle Fletcher crowned in, with a singles championship on a big stage. I think this is like almost a sure bet that we're going to get Fletcher as a champion, and he's somebody who I hope will be able to take the TNT title to maybe a different level of prominence. And for Cole, I want to see this begin at least a big turnaround, if not just from having a great match, but like I just want to see this him turn back into a heel where he's far more interesting. And spoke a little bit about like the confidence issues that I'm perceiving, from him. I hope he's able to find it somehow, because Fletcher has it right now.
Are we too far away from the TBS and TNT titles becoming the / HBO Max belts?
Well, are they? Like, is there
maybe those could be separate titles, the HBO Max titles?
Yes, the Max Championship. Yeah,
I look forward to it.
What do you think about the idea that, like, because it feels like Cole is like only defending. They're kind of making like the face of Collision because he's the TNT champion. Would you want to see the TNT Championship continue to be a Collision, or mainly Collision, title?
I don't care at all. I mean, it kind of makes sense. Like you can do that. Doesn't hurt.
I think it actually does hurt it, like, because you're limiting it to a much smaller audience.
I think it's just nobody cares what station these championships are defended on, and I wouldn't box yourself into such a corner that this belt can only be used on this show. If you need something on Wednesday and it's there, like I don't think it makes any difference at all. It's G1 Climax season, and that means the Post Wrestling Cafe has you covered with podcasts covering every single tournament match. Plus, we've got Rewind Away going back to 2005 to review Vengeance featuring Triple H versus Batista in a Hell in a Cell match. John and Way are going to be reviewing F1 the movie starring Brad Pitt, and of course, XL editions of Rewind a Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown, ad-free with the news of the week and your feedback. Sign up now at postwrestlingcafe.com. All right, let's talk about let's go through the Casino Gauntlet matches, starting off with the men's match, which has MJF number 1, Mark Briscoe number 2, or the other way around, which they're starting.
Whatever, yeah.
And then Mystico is being advertised for a match he may not even make it into, which MJF is promising will be the case. He's going to beat him so badly that Mystico won't even get in there. I'm most interested, actually. Like, they've done a good job of building this up with Briscoe and MJF. I'm also really interested to see if there's like a continuation with Mystico and MJF doing something in this.
For sure.
Well.
For sure there is. Yeah.
There's a lot for MJF in this match, and it's kind of like we don't even need to necessarily like we don't know who's in this match. Of the available options, MJF's a very safe pick to win this. You can put him into a championship match. It's so much about his character getting back to the title. It's almost too predictable. I like your Briscoe idea. I would say, like, if we're looking at just like a TV challenge for a title match, like, I don't even discount like a wild card, like a Brody King, like winning and, do a surprise with somebody just winning out of nowhere. It depends on what you want to build up to. Obviously with MJF, you could do something big if he wins this for a future pay-per-view.
I don't discount anything, but I do feel like a Brody King might be like maybe 2 or 3 steps away from like a world title challenge. Now, like, okay, yeah, it could be like a Dynamite world title challenge, which in that case, it doesn't really matter, but why waste this opportunity, right? Like, this is the biggest stage you could have of the entire year to showcase somebody who should be your next world title contender, right? Like, theoretically, this should be like the next main event of your next pay-per-view, or at least like some prominent pay-per-view coming down. Oh, hold on a second. This is for a briefcase, isn't it? Or at least a contract, right?
It's a
cash-in gimmick, right?
Correct. Yes.
Which is what Christian had.
Yes. Yeah. So,
okay. So this should be much more prominent than just like, a random, right? Like, and a gimmick like this makes perfect sense on somebody like an MJF. Now that I remember that that's the gimmick, it can make sense for a babyface and Mark Briscoe too, to like maybe do the more noble thing and like announce that he's going to challenge somebody ahead of time. But yeah, I think I'm more so willing to bet that MJF wins this gimmick.
Yeah, I'm I'm kind of lukewarm on the Money in the Bank concept in AEW. I just think it's so ingrained in WWE. It's almost become like somewhat tiresome when you have two briefcases in WWE that I don't know if I want to see AEW just do the constant teases with like the heel cashing in that
Right.
It's easy to do with the MJF character, but it does feel like just such a retread. And I think we learned from last year, like the Christian thing, it just was not.
Well, Christian was the wrong person to hold it.
He was, and it just was to me. Just it was almost like how do we end this with Christian after all these teases that no one was really. I didn't think they got much value out of it, so I hope it's.
But is that so? Is it a problem with the gimmick or the person holding the gimmick? You know, like
I think it's both, but it's also I think one where there was no believability. I think in Christian beating Bryan Danielson, and I think the as well that you just and then it was with like Moxley as well. Like it was the wrong person, and I think it was just added on to the fact of just doing like the cash in teases that there just didn't seem to be any value in Christian being that guy last year.
yeah, I don't disagree that like at this point the cash in idea feels very WWE and might just kind of risk too much like comparisons. At the same time, I would be lying if I said I wasn't curious to see what a character like MJF would do with a Money in the Bank style gimmick, Just the constant threats of him looming around every title match that we're going to have in the future, I think just offers a lot of interesting storytelling possibility for an MJF, a lot of exciting moments on the show. I'm hoping they can come up with some interesting wrinkle that differs it from a WWE.
Or you do the opposite, and it's MJF, but he's calling his shot for the next time they're in Long Island, and you try to like sell an arena out based on like MJF.
How about he calls his shot just to misdirect and actually he'll cash it in like that night?
The best wrinkle on it was Lucha Underground because Dario Cueto would say, you have to give me a week's notice so I can promote it in advance because it would be bad business to just give a title shot out of nowhere. And they had to, the person who won had to give a week's notice when they wanted the title match.
So now that is interesting. Now, does that take away a lot of the excitement attached to the gimmick though?
I mean, as a viewer, it didn't matter to me. I mean, it's like, if you're ultimately going to be doing is anyone complaining that Moxley and Hangman has been promoted in advance as opposed to just it's an impromptu match?
No, not at all. But then at this, like if you're going to announce it a week in advance, then it doesn't make it so different from a typical like Royal Rumble win or Battle Royal win or tournament win. The appeal of this gimmick is that a cowardly heel can kind of like backdoor his way into the match, right?
All right. Well, I'm going with Truth Magnum now. Okay, that's my pick. You seem to have talked yourself into MJF.
I have, yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's the safest pick. I think he gives you the most options of stuff to do with it, and most of all, it's a believable person that you could see actually like winning the title and not just doing as much as you could get behind a Mark Briscoe. Like I don't think too many people. I wouldn't be opposed to that either. I think that would be someone that, even in losing, you could still build up for like a week or two in an effective way as well.
Well, somehow we have to spin out of this into probably a Briscoe MJF singles match and also MJF Mystico singles match.
Oh yeah, MJF has got plenty set up for him.
Want to like drop any like surprises you think you could see enter?
Are any coming to mind for you? That
like
would be
like a New Japan guy, probably. Like who are we thinking? Could Tanahashi make an appearance?
Yeah, he could. Yeah, like anyone in New Japan, like they're all off until the 19th. So in theory, you could have also the dual purpose of like anyone that you have a big plan for Forbidden Door, at least kick something off. Like that's what I hope these gauntlets come out with, like what they did tonight with like Tekla and Aminata. Like they're building stories going into it, and hopefully they'll have some programs coming out of these rather than they're just a cluster and we have a winner and there's nothing to these matches. Like hopefully there's some stories coming out of these matches.
How about debuts or returns?
I guess returns. Like who would you look at? Like a Keith Lee.
Okay, yeah, Keith Lee.
If he's ready to go, like that would be. I'm
also curious about the debuts and like maybe out of the free agent pool of like recently released WWE guys or just like people that are out there. Could you see anybody making a debut.
I'd be so picky on who I would be signing at this point. Like when you have you could do some surprises from New Japan. You could definitely, I would imagine some CMLL talent beyond Mystico could all be in there. Like Mortos could certainly be back, but that's not a surprise.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the list of like released men's wrestlers from the WWE, and like nothing's really jumping out to me as like a AEW like guy, right?
Yeah, like you could do a one-off where it's just someone coming out that gets a big pop and doesn't necessarily mean they're coming in as well. Right. We'll see how long this one goes. Like how deep do you see these? Do you see both matches going like lengthy? Are we going to be looking at like 15 to 20 people, or do they keep it more economical?
So. Because this is really just another cover for like cramming people onto the show. So I can't see it ending in like single digits, for instance.
The women's match, we just have Chris Statlander and Megan Bayne. I guess some people are like speculating if a Britt Baker could make a return here. This one to me is much more wide open, and I could see, of the people announced, sure you could go with anyone here, but this is probably one where somebody that's not announced could easily win this thing. Like I don't have like a solid read on this one person that would make the most amount of sense.
I feel like we can expect the Britt Baker. Maybe that's just I don't know, like the fact that she's such a topic of conversation. I think for a WWE released like sort of speculation, there's probably a lot more options here between like a Dakota Kai.
Dakota Kai came to mind.
Well, Shayna Baszler we know now is still doing stuff for WWE as a producer.
She was
right?
It was
NXT.
I think it was I'm forgetting
NXT,
the outlet, but yeah, she was listed as a producer.
But like, I think a Dakota Kai would be a really interesting name that I could see, make an entry if her days are cleared, like her 90 days. Are her 90 days cleared?
I'd have to look up.
Yeah, I don't know
when her exact release was.
Like Core Jade is like doing a lot, on the indies right now. So, we're talking about an appearance, right? Like I could maybe see something like that,
Yeah, Dakota Kai was released in May, so 90 would not be up yet.
I see. Okay,
we continue on, and then we get into kind of the big matches. Swerve and Ospreay against...
By the way, we never picked a winner for the women's gauntlet.
I mean, I don't really have like... I don't even.
Well, let's think about our options. All right, like we got Statlander, Bane. Like of the prominent names, Thunder Rosa, Athena. Like I think Athena almost might be a bit of a front runner for
I like
Texas.
Athena. That's a good one, especially in Texas.
Yeah.
Whether she wins or loses,
she's had zero presence on tonight's Dynamite to lead you to think it. But
is there any chance of her losing the title to Thunder Rosa in Texas on Friday?
Yeah, I think so.
Like if she's losing the title, I think it's almost a given that she'd be in this. I would expect her in this match regardless of whether she wins or loses the title match on Friday.
Also
Athena's a good pick. Athena's actually a really good pick. You want to introduce her, and it's either her with Tony or her with Mercedes. And
well, most of the story that's been heading into this match has been like Statlander and Willow and Marina, right? Mm-hmm. So could we expect one of those three? Probably not Marina, but like.
It's something big for Tekla, who like had a great introduction. She's been fine going in.
Yeah.
I just see like a wide range of options, and I don't see anyone that's like your perfect pick. But I do really like the Athena pick, to be quite honest. So
yeah, who would be champion coming out of the show?
Well, we'll get to that in just a minute. I would say like if Baker's in this, she probably should win it. Like I wouldn't just bring Baker back and she's just getting eliminated or something like that. So I think. And Baker if it's Baker and Mercedes, like that's a really big match for people. And you just had Mercedes with that video she posted doing that like Q&A.
So the other thing is this is the first women's gauntlet they've done for this thing, right?
Second time, I think.
But last time wasn't for the cash in contract.
Right.
They've never had one for the women. So I don't know if I see them having two of those running around at the same time. So this might be the type of cash in that might be used quickly. And if that's the case, could the cash in happen on the same night?
Yes. Yeah. That's that
So
could
Storm
happen.
Monet happens, big celebration, and then cash in.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't.
That is a
I
very
don't,
WWE thing.
I don't love that idea. Well, let's go then to Mercedes and Tony Storm. And, for a lot of this build, I thought like this is where it's the best place for Mercedes to finally lose. And, it's a big babyface win for Tony Storm. But I also think there's a lot of great options if Mercedes wins this match. I mean, you mentioned Athena. I think if Britt Baker is coming back, I think like Mercedes and Baker is probably your biggest women's match you can build up to.
Storm and Baker is a big one too.
It is, but I think there is some like novelty just to Mercedes and Baker for the first time as well. But I'm also looking at this way, and this, like, I grouped this together with like the Moxley Hangman match, Okada and Omega, and Swerve and Ospreay against the Young Bucks. And for each of them, I can make strong arguments for the babyface winning, but I can't argue like all the babyfaces are winning those 4 big matches. Like I do think we are going to see some heel wins in the mix there. And I honestly think you can go either way here, but I would say, like, honestly, like if you want to make Mercedes' first loss be super meaningful, this is the show to do it on. And I think like Tony Storm has emerged to me as like might be their top star to a lot of people. And if it wasn't a show with Moxley and Hangman, I think you could even argue of like this being that much higher on this card. Like this, you have 3 matches, I think, that you legitimately could have gone on, could have argued to go on last with Omega Okada as well. But this one, the placement will be interesting here. I think they're going to have an excellent match. Like I don't have any doubt in my mind that this is going to be really, really well done. And I'm only curious where it goes. I imagine it's the back half of the show, but.
I think Mercedes is winning this one. I think Tony will want the visual of like 7 belts Monet, just like somebody,
Tony Khan would want the visual of that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Tony Storm would not want that.
We got to clarify here. Yeah, that's kind of where I was. Like, I was thinking towards this should be Monet's big loss, but the more I think about it is like, yeah, you've got like the 7 belts, and it's...
Man, the scary thing about it is like, okay, about a person holding all those belts is like, what if she gets hurt? What if she gets injured? And
no
like,
one gets hurt in pro wrestling.
And like she has to like just drop all those belts without like giving like losing any of them. Not to suggest that she'd take a pinfall 6 different times to drop all the belts, but still, it's like there's a lot of companies and smaller promotions that are like depending on Monet at this point, right?
CML is like, hey, come back whenever you want. Just keep the belt for as long as you want. I mean,
don't lose it. Yeah.
I mean, she is supposed to go do Rev Pro in a couple of weeks for their Summer Sizzler show, so she's got that coming up as well.
Right. Yeah, it is an interesting one to debate because like Tony Storm is just so incredibly hot right now. Is like taking the title off of her really the best thing? I think Monet is going to do it, and therefore that what happens with the TBS Championship?
Yeah, they haven't made any kind of. I think it's just going to be 2 separate belts. I think that's the way they're going to clarify. Like you obviously want her carrying all the belts and all of that.
She's 7 belts Monet for at least one night, and then Tony will announce a tournament. Maybe.
Oh, I would not like that. Like Warrior beating Hogan, and now you can't hold both belts at the same time. I don't like that one.
So how do you expect you expect her to just carry all the belts and drop them separately?
I mean, you're going to have the same problem if Tony wins. Like it's either one. They're going to have 2 belts.
The difference is the show kind of needs 2 belts, right? You have a division and only 2 championships, right? You can't have all of it be held by one person.
She can defend them both. I mean, both of these people are going to have 2 belts at the end of this, so you're going to have that dilemma regardless of who wins this.
How about this? Monet wins 7 belts. Monet cash in from Athena to take the main belt away.
Listen, I think the idea of Athena, I would not do that on the night of. I would want to build towards Monet and Athena for a future date. I would want to promote that.
Promote the cash in though, but it's a cash in gimmick. You can promote the rematch.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know how people would react. Like, yes, it would get a big reaction in the building, but I don't know if you want to present this match and then boom, you just do the cash in deal. I just don't know how well that would land with people. But I do like the idea of
in Texas. It'll be big. I think they'll like it.
Anyway, I guess we're both going with Mercedes on that one.
Yeah.
Swerve and Ospreay against the Young Bucks, the EVP titles on the line, or Ospreay and Strickland cannot challenge for a year.
Yeah. I mean, the main event is a big match. I think Monet and Storm is a big match, but in terms of in-ring, I might be looking forward to this one the most, man. Like,
I think this is going to be stellar. Like, this easily could be. There's a lot of candidates of what could be the match of the show.
I'm not even mentioning Omega Okada. Can you believe
we're not there yet? Jeez. Yeah, like that. Which I don't think there's any two guys that have more pressure on them than those two. But we'll get to that in a minute. Yeah, this is going to be outstanding. It's also probably going to get a ton of time as well. And I look at this as like a really interesting way of which you book this. And I'd be lying if I said I'm not intrigued if they went with the Young Bucks winning this and holding off on Swerve and Ospreay not being able to challenge for this belt for a year. Mm-hmm. I think it would take a lot of discipline. It would be, to me, it would be very risky to be telling your audience these two giant stars are not going to be in our title picture for a year. But sometimes, like, AEW has done stuff like this, and there's the obvious Wembley tie-in to keep Will away from that title for a year. Mm-hmm. I just don't know at the end of the day if they can pull the trigger on that sizable of a stipulation, even when it does have an end date to it, because I think fans still have PTSD over the Cody handling.
Yeah. I really do think it's a wonderful stipulation. And like often, even in this story, we went from like a ridiculous stipulation, why would the Bucks ever accept something like this, to something that where you would still say like, okay, why would you still accept something like this? But I can buy it a little bit more, and I can in fact see the baby faces losing because the stipulation is so well designed, so well crafted. But all that said, I think ultimately I'm probably of the camp that can't see Swerve and Ospreay not headlining one or two pay-per-view matches in the next year for that championship. So I think in addition to just the idea that I think the EVPs is a gimmick that needs to go, that tells me that I think the baby faces are winning this one.
Yeah, I would say that I think it would really harm this Hangman run to not have Swerve for the next year. Like, if this were just Ospreay, I think you could make a more compelling argument. But when you're taking Swerve out of it as well, the only positive I can say from it is that if they lose, it does give you a reason to get to Ospreay and Swerve a lot quicker, which is what we initially thought maybe this show would be, is Swerve against Ospreay. But I think you can do that regardless. So my thought is Ospreay and Strickland are getting the big win in this one. And the Bucks, it'll be kind of interesting afterward if this is sort of a refresh that they go through, like eliminating all the EVP stuff and kind of distancing themselves from this whole elite era of, characters that, this is their strength, is come match time and such. And the character stuff, it's sort of, they found an easier way to put them and the Death Riders together than I thought it would be. So they've at least massaged that area. But that is my pick, Ospreay and Swerve.
Ospreay and Swerve too. I think we've convinced ourselves.
And then Okada and Omega. Where do you put this match on the show, Way? You're putting this show together. I mean, where do you put it? And does Adam Cole follow it?
Yes, the answer is yes.
I think 100% Adam Cole is following this. That's my thought. Listen, Way, honestly, like, there was a part of me when they started teasing this, I thought this was just going to close the show. I don't think that will be the case for what they're doing, but I mean, I could not, if you had told me Okada and Omega are going to have their first AEW match and it's not closing a show, I would have said, you're out of your mind to put this in the middle of a show somewhere. I'm very interested where it goes. And everyone's talking about this. It's like, it's their first match since 2018. There's also the question, this very well may be their last match that they have. I don't know if they do this one again. We'll see.
This is also Kenny Omega's first match since having, 20 feet of his intestines cut out and, having his life threatened. This is Okada's first match since, I'm sure, a lot of injuries themselves, and being a father So that'll totally change things, and just not to mention just the time. Omega did a really great interview with Garrett Gonzalez and Dave Meltzer at Wrestling Observer, where he was kind of asked about like maybe the pressure of following their trilogy, and I thought he said something that I think should really inform the way we all watch it. He said how it would be maybe sort of egotistical of him to assume that everybody who's currently watching AEW will have seen those three matches. I think a lot of people know about the stature of those matches, know about like the legend of the matches, but how many would have actually sat down to watch everything? And should he be crafting this match as a continuation of those three, referencing callbacks to all of those four matches? Yeah. I think, and he said
even those who did watch those matches. I mean,
exactly.
When did they again? Their last match was 2018. Like that's a long time in pro wrestling. It's not quite 1999, but it's still a long time.
By the way, Braden and Davey did do a best match ever, looking at all four of them. So if you guys are looking for a bit of a refresher and wanting to hear people talk about it, go to the Poison Run on Patreon for that. But Kenny essentially said like he's trying to think of this as a start of a new series of matches for the two of them, and to basically like maybe expect a very different match from those other ones, and not necessarily a direct continuation of like the last time these two wrestled, but maybe just the next trilogy or next quadrilogy, whatever you want to call it.
Did he use like that term?
No,
like
he
that?
did not. But
Okay.
he's just thinking of it as like a disconnected sort of like set.
That's probably the right way to look at this. I mean, I think you're promoting a match of Okada and Omega. I don't think this can go anywhere under 30 minutes. I think that
but it will also fine. 30 is fine. Like
it is, and it's especially fine if you are going to go back to this one at a later date or something like that. I think you've suddenly set up a lot with Kenny Omega where all of a sudden Kota Ibushi is like back to life, and there's suddenly like with a healthy Kota Ibushi, a lot that you can do with him, with Kenny, and Okada involved there too, as well. For that, if they are in fact going to continue this beyond All In, then I see Okada winning this. If this is just the start of things rather than this is the culmination. And
well, I think Okada.
There's a great story there of like Kenny is not 100% still. Like he's still coming back. He shouldn't be able to beat this guy who has been this dominant champion for this long reign, and it does give Kenny something to chase and mean a lot when he finally beats him.
Is Okada still technically undefeated, or did he wipe that out? Like from?
I mean, he lost in the Continental Classic.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I guess I don't know if they can really mask that at all. But I mean, I personally see Okada winning it. And I see Omega, like, you got the Golden Lovers now. Like that's a tag team we didn't necessarily mention that could go after the Hurt Syndicate.
Yep. They've done the teases too with Okada and the Don Callis family with Takeshita. True. Like that's something that's always been on the back burner for them as well. Just having the Don Callis family involved, like you have the history with Okada with Kyle Fletcher in the Continental Classic. Like there's a lot of pieces to all of this. But
so Tony Khan said that both titles will still be like active.
It sounds exactly like we were talking about.
But they showed us a new design for the new belt already.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand that because he said the lineage would still be of both titles, but they've introduced this new, like it's not going to be two physical belts. It's going to be this new one that they introduced to us. So I don't quite understand how that works. It's not going to be two separate belts. It's going to be one new championship, but assumes the lineage of both.
Well, I think this guy just wants the photo op of like, because it's Okada holding 3 championships, I guess. But God, like the whole point we're doing this is to like just make the storytelling a little bit cleaner, right? So I mean I hope it means the complete end of at least one of those belts.
Are you picking Okada in this?
I am, yeah.
Me too. And then Jon Moxley and Hangman Page, Texas Death Match for the AEW Championship. Come Saturday, there's going to be 1 million people bringing up Cody losing to Roman at WrestleMania 39 and waiting a year for it. I do not think that will be the case in this one. I think it would be it's one thing when you're riding hot and you can kind of do whatever you want. I think AEW really does need this big crowning moment. This is not WrestleMania 39. I feel this is WrestleMania 40 for AEW.
Well, I do feel like location plays a big role in like determining all of that now, you know, because like it just makes so much more sense for the Cowboy to win in Texas than to win in England, where I could see another like person getting that spot and headlining. So in that, coupled with the fact that like this Death Rider story has like, I mean, you know, everybody is just kind of wanting to see its end. There's no bigger stage for it to end like than the end game of the year for AEW. They've done such a great job making Hangman Page feel like the main character of this show. And I think they've also
Moxley
done it
too. I think Moxley's been outstanding
great.
in this whole lead up, and I think that I do believe that this run will be more celebrated later. But if there were people that were not so hot on this Moxley run, I think since May that has probably changed a lot, because I think having the challenger, and part of that I think is like you have the guy that everyone believes is going to win, where I think that was a hang up, was that Moxley was, you know, he was facing quality guys, but just no one believed that they were going to be taking the belt off him in all of these situations. You have that guy now, and I think Moxley's been excellent. And a lot of the criticisms of the Death Riders, they've somewhat like been eliminated over these last couple of months.
I think also when this whole thing started, there was the criticism that like for all the Death Riders were like kind of talking, and maybe like for all we were supposed to fear about the Death Riders, they never really felt like a threat that the entire company was going after. It'd be like people like I guess Daniel Garcia and like Mark Briscoe, and just like, you know, like meanwhile like your real top guys weren't really caring about it. Since the beginning of the year, they've done a lot to address that, you know, and certainly by now, it really does feel like you have the entire company after like wanting this entire thing to end. And I think they've been very successful at telling that story. Like all the pieces are just in place for them to execute the finish. Like they're at the finish line. These two, well, they need to have a great match, first of all, and that's its own set of expectations. Texas Death, what kind of craziness are we going to see?
Well, they're going to have the allowance that like this is going to be the total bloody, violent display that no matches on the undercard are going to have. Like you might get some blood on the undercard, but I wouldn't even waste it before this match. Like this is going to like I'm not too concerned about this closing the show and following everything that they've got to follow, and it's a lot to follow. But I feel
are you confident enough that this could follow an Okada Omega going 30 minutes?
Yeah,
me too. Me too. In fact, I think that'd be a perfectly fine spot for Okada Omega. Like you have a very exhaustive, like 30-minute sort of probably emotional, at some like kind of emotional battle, I should say. And then to end it with like blood and gore and just kind of flashy stunt work, I think is a great sort of antidote to like that sort of potential like 5-hour days that we'll probably all be in. I gotta rewatch that first death match that they have, because they're going to exceed that by 10, I'm sure.
Do you expect any returns like Darby in this match?
Yeah, everybody.
Sting cameo.
Sting maybe not. I don't know about Sting. But I think Darby could make an appearance. I think like basically anybody like Danielson, Bryan Danielson.
Danielson for sure. Yeah, Danielson and Darby, I would say, make the most sense. Yeah. You know, Cope was a past opponent of Moxley, but he might be better served with FTR to come back for that revenge angle as well. But Darby and Danielson, I think for sure you could expect. And I mean, the closing shot of the show should be just the title out of the briefcase and held up by Hangman, and that's like the big visual to end the show. Or he opens the briefcase and the title's been smashed into pieces. Empty. It's just a receipt. He sold it.
Yeah. I always wondered like if they'd reveal some sort of surprise, like a what's in the box sort of surprise that like by the time we open the briefcase we won't know. But I also can't see the show ending with anything but just that closing visual of
what if he opens the briefcase and it's like the big giant spotlight is coming out of the briefcase, like it's something back from the dead.
Sure. No.
All right.
It's the golden egg, the Faberge egg.
Oh, Fabergé egg.
Fabergé egg. No, trios match.
That's not a championship. That's Shane McMahon.
Trios match.
Sorry, I totally forgot about the trios match.
It's not official yet. I guess it could be, something different, but
the Ops against the Death Riders with Gabe Kidd joining Yuta and Claudio. I guess this kind of ties into the main event. Like, what is the trajectory of the Death Riders and Moxley after this show? Like, do they all go away for a period? Because if so, like, them losing these trios titles, they should not be winning the trios belts, is what I should say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't make sense that they would win, right? So, but it also seems odd that they would just like lose. We've got to have something coming out of it with like Gabe Kidd, for Forbidden Door.
Could be Kidd and Shibata at Forbidden Door.
Could be. I mean, it could be the Death Riders winning, or at least the trio winning and defending at Forbidden Door. And maybe they denounce Jon Moxley as the leader.
Or they sacrifice Yuta for losing yet another fall, and
they cut his hair off.
Oh, that'd be a great angle, actually. That'd be a babyface pop.
Okay. Yeah. You know what?
Like, if Moxley losing the belt, like, he probably should go away for a time, and the Death Riders are kind of dissolved and they go off into their. I don't see the Ops dropping the belts. I just don't see it being necessary on this show. To be quite honest, like, the Death Riders on this show is kind of like they're an awkward spot on this show. Like, they should be involved in the main event. And
what about Hook? Like, what's the deal with Hook? Remember they teased like the tension between at Anarchy in the arena?
Yeah, they haven't. We haven't gone back to that yet.
Hook joins the Death Riders. He's the third man.
Yeah. As the Death Riders leave, it's just him and Yuta left. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess we got to hold down the fort.
Okay, yeah, Ops. Sure.
Okay.